So, Geeknificent, as the main creator and kind of facilitator of bringing this project together, what is it that you can actually tell me about the Eye of Veritas and this overall library of what you're trying to achieve? What is the main focus you're trying to bring into the VR world?
Well, the Aya Veritas is the community I run. We're both an educational and social community. I am trying to keep a balance of both educational availability, but also room for those social interactions that everyone looks for in a social platform like VRChat. As for the library is going to be our avenue to actually offering uh, education in an easy and affordable manner because we don't believe education should be locked behind a paywall. So we're trying to create a system here where people can get access to any number of books without having to pay for it.
And it's certainly a nice endeavor in general, but how is something like that even really achieved? I mean, it sounds as though it's a huge logistical nightmare of trying to coordinate and facilitate something like that in general. So, in the terms of this library, how are you bringing access of those books and information and education to people, really?
So we are taking advantage of VRChat's string loader module. And loading the content of the books that we want to host here from an external server that we will also be hosting and managing. Now, you are correct. It is a logistical nightmare, and we have been developing this project for the past year now, and it is starting to get to a point where we are getting close to our first prototype. One of the hurdles in programming something like this, VRChat does not natively load files like EPUBs or PDFs from external sources. So we had to create a whole new system to facilitate getting information from a book from an external source here into VRChat. We built a conversion tool to read the content of EPUBs and convert them into a JSON file, which then can be ran through the string loader function and then loaded here in this e-reader that we're developing.
So really, you're trying to take as much information as possible through these different file formats. You're converting them over to these JSON and other type of formats that the VR chat can actually read and load through your string loader. It certainly sounds like, I mean, that's way above my pay grade. That's way above my knowledge, but I'm certain that other people out there know more well enough than that. And I'm sure it's been very educational for everyone involved overall, trying to learn how to do that. But what exactly kind of content are you really trying to bring into this library? What kind of books? What kind of information? Is there anything that's gonna be held back? Categories? What is the actual flavor and substance of of the books being brought in?
Everything. We are going to be hosting everything, or at least as much as possible. We want to host an environment where education is possible. So we are going to be dividing the library into 7 major categories and filtering the books by those categories. Uh, Science and technology, math, philosophy, history, art, and art is where we will host the literary works of fiction because fiction is an art form in literature, esoterics, and info hazard. And when I say info hazard is where we are going to be hosting literary works that are dubious or potentially harmful in nature, and we'll have a disclaimer leading into the info hazard stating such. And it's kind of our version of a banned books section without actually banning the books, because part of our philosophy is that those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. I'm sure you're familiar with the saying. So the info hazard section is there to kind of serve as um, an example of mistakes that uh, people should avoid.
I mean, with all this information being brought in, the inner dynamics of trying to build this whole system and really just bring it all together. Have you had to do a lot of this on yourself, alone? Has there been a larger like workforce behind this? Are you having to front the money yourself? Like, what's going on in terms of the dynamic of the team, or maybe even just yourself that's really trying to make this happen?
So I do have a team that I've been working with and have put together to help make this possible. We've got two developers that are helping build the tablet. We've got a modeler building the world. Um, we do have a technician that is going to, well, two technicians actually, that are going to be helping us make and host the server that will actually store the converted book information into something that our library and our e-reader will be able to use. As far as funding the project, I have largely been funding the project with my own income. We we do have a Patreon where people can donate their money, and I take that money and put it towards the development of the library. Although I haven't really been pushing the Patreon because there's a lot foundational here that needs to be done before I can offer a lot of the perks that I want to include in the Patreon. We have had some people donate already, knowing that the Patreon is incomplete, which I'm very grateful for. But until we get to a more foundational point, I don't want to like really start asking for money until the things that I want to promise are deliverable.
And certainly trying to get that foundational work down is super important. And really just trying to show what the library can be capable of. And of course, when people do donate, which can be found in the description below, then hopefully that they can see a little bit more of the benefits and things that may be coming. But I know it's a rather large and broad question that I think most developers of anything really hate to answer, myself included. When do you think the next installment, or when do you think it could be at least somewhat available, a beta version, an alpha version? When is there something physical that people might be able to start to see something that's interactable for them?
Well, we still have to do dry runs and testing to make sure the system can handle the traffic. But I do want to have a beta version at minimum ready before the end of this year.
Oh, that's coming up pretty fast. I think you've only got maybe about a couple months left, so it's a high task to sell yourself. So I hope it really goes well. But now, with all the questions of how this has been achieved, the teams, the infrastructure, your goals, visions, and everything that's been said, as of right now, at this moment, what is it that you can really show me around that is usable? I've noticed that you do have a little bit of a tablet over here, and it is a very nice, beautiful environment in general. So, what is it that you can show the audience as of now to what is still somewhat workable?
Right. So this is an early prototype of our e-reader system. It is currently linked to some external sources where we have converted books being hosted in the JSON format that I mentioned. So each of these titles um, have access to those literary works, which again are being loaded through String Loader. Um, Now we have a little glitch where the first page loads blank, but if you click right here, it will go to the next page. We also have in the bottom left, I'm sure as you can see, there is a hamburger icon that's a settings menu for the tablet. It's not complete yet, but there are some settings that you can play with. And then in the bottom right, there's a return arrow, which takes you back to the previous screen, of course. And the books that are currently being hosted here are, in fact, the complete literary works of our sample books. So you can keep navigating all the way to the end of the book. At the bottom, if you have a book open, there's a sections button, which lets you navigate to different sections of the book. So you can kind of skip around chapters instead of having to navigate all the way from the start to the end.
And the tablet does seem to be in mostly working function at the moment, but what other kind of things do you want to really include into this library? Is it going to be just a library, or are you kind of hoping to include more things, categories, themes? What's the future of the library looking like?
So it's not going to just be the e-readers. Uh, as I said before, we are going to be dividing the library into different sections and wings. So each wing is going to represent a category of information. So the science and technology wing will have interactive exhibits that you would probably find in a real life science museum, like a planetarium, little electrical experiments, gravity experiments, things like that. Uh, so we want this to not just be, a dry library of reading books, but we want it to be an interactive educational environment. So, like, the art section will have canvases that you can draw on and paint on, and you can put your VRC camera into a capture orb to capture your work and save it to your desktop. We are also going to have other specialized rooms like a lecture hall so that actual teachers and educators can come into our library and do real actual lessons and lectures. They'll be able to take the e-reader, put it into a projector, and then pull up whatever book that they want to teach from, and it will be casted to the projector system. We also want to have things like a newsroom, a fitness center, maybe a meditation temple. We also want to have like a book club reading room as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of utility in mind for the library.
And is all of that going to be mostly within one world, or is there going to be a little bit more like a central hub system to kind of teleport around different worlds that are all kind of connected to the same server? How are you facilitating these different categories and buildings that may be a part of this?
It's planned to be all part of one world with a directory. So, like a You Are Here panel to kind of let people get their bearings. And if they want to just zip to the section of the library that they want to go to, the directory will also have interactive, like, pins that you can click on to teleport you right there.
Damn, I just had a really good question in my mind. Oh, and I'm sure a very important question that a lot of people may be wondering. Is this also going to be Quest compatible? Is it going to be PC and Steam and Quest? Or how is that compatibility looking for such a large world? I imagine it might be a little bit difficult for some Quest users.
It is planned to be Quest compatible. The nice thing about the e-reader system, the brunt of the data that the library will be handling will be loaded from an external source. The world we're standing in is about maybe 20 to 30 megabytes. So there's still a lot of headroom there where we can fit more and more stuff in before we hit that 100 megabyte cap for Quest.
Well, that's certainly good news to hear. And, just for all of my fellow mirror lurkers out there, will there be enough mirrors to sit in front of and read?
We do plan to have cozy areas snuck away in various areas of the library. The main atrium where all the categorized rooms connect to will have a cozy area right underneath it. So it's right in the middle of all the books that you could get a hold of. And then you can just come back, go down to the cozy area, and snuggle up somewhere and read.
Well, fantastic. I greatly appreciate your time here at Geeknificent, as the leader of Veritas and the main facilitator of this large endeavor and project in general, all around the idea of education. Are there any final thoughts or wishes or messages that you'd like to give out there towards this project or in general, maybe just towards the community?
Education belongs to everyone, and we should be preserving it as much as possible, especially in an environment where education has come under threat and simultaneously has become harder to access. I want to foster an environment that preserves education and its access to it for generations to come. I want this library to outlive me.
And that is great to hear, and I really do wish you the best. And to everyone who is still watching, there should be a couple notes to take is that you do not need to have VR to play VR chat to access this world. If you have a desktop, if you have an Android phone, even if you have an Apple phone, VR chat is still accessible to everyone, including this world when it becomes available. So thank you, Geeknificent, and I hope to see everyone jumping on in when it becomes available. And hey, make sure to check out that PayPal down below to show your support and get updates on the extra things that are being added to the world. So until next time, I thank you, Geek, and I hope to look forward towards and I look forward towards the next installment of your project. Thank you.
Of course.
That's where editing comes in. That's the one thing about like not having a script is that sometimes you like yeah, and things are looking fantastic. How do you